Hi, everybody. This is Silvio Canto in Dallas, Texas on Tuesday, September the 9th. And welcome to our commentary. Just a quick personal note here at the very beginning of the video. It was 99 years ago. My father was born 99 years ago. He passed away about 10 years ago. But my father, would have been 99 today, of course. He's celebrating that up in heaven. So happy number 99 to our wonderful father. And we always remember him as a great man. And I came to the United States because of him and my mother, who brought us here many years ago. And whenever I think of my father, I have some very comfortable and rewarding and refreshing thoughts because he was actually quite an inspiration to all of us. So happy number 99 up in heaven to my dad. And I know he watches. I know he watches. May not watch every day, but I know he's watching. Well, just a couple of quick stories before I get to my main point today. And that is the Bureau of Labor Statistics. This is this extremely, I don't know, controversial group that keeps posting job figures and then revises them up or down. Well, they just came out with a brand new update, if you will. And from April 24th to March 20, April 2024 to March 2025, 12 months that is, they tell us now that 900,000 jobs have disappeared. And, this is extremely important for the country because we spent part of last year, as you may recall, in a presidential campaign talking about the economy, and we were being told that there was job growth. Well, as it turned out, there really wasn't any job growth or consequential job growth because 900,000 jobs have apparently disappeared. They're not there anymore. Where did they go? Well, they were a mistake. It was a correction, if you will. Now, I don't mind people making mistakes. Obviously, keeping track of job figures is not a perfect science, but this happens a lot with this organization. And running it and replaced another person. But if the Bureau of Labor Statistics is going to be credible or people are going to listen to them, well, they better elevate their consistency, if I could put it this way. Because if you keep revising your job figures, as you've been doing now for quite some time, pretty much, I think a lot of people like me are not going to believe you. Last month, they told us that 20,000 jobs were created. Well, is that a real figure? Is that a real figure? A lot of people were drawing conclusions from that figure that, oh, look at the Trump economy is going down. Well, we don't really know. So that's why I'm beginning to wonder if Congress doesn't have to have an investigation of this, and maybe we have to redesign how these people come up with this information, at least how they present it to the American people. Because if you're going to tell me that 900,000 jobs disappeared over the last year, from April 2024 to March 2025, or 10 months, let's say, of the Biden presidency, 2 months of the Trump presidency, and you're going to tell me that these jobs just disappeared? I don't know. I have to begin to wonder how credible this information is. And maybe we need to, I don't know, I think Congress needs to get involved and we need to have hearings and we have to have a very frank discussion of why these figures are always wrong or why they change so much. I don't know why they change so much. I'm not an economist. I'm not an expert. I don't know what they base this information on. And maybe, maybe they're doing their best. But whatever they're doing is not good enough. Because a lot of people make decisions on this information. People went to vote in November based on this information. Now we're finding out that everything that we were being told about jobs was not really correct. So maybe it's time to have an investigation. I sure hope so. I sure hope that the Congress gets involved in this and does something about it. Here's another quick story that I saw this morning. Democrats are embracing socialism now more than ever. You have obviously a socialist running for mayor in New York City. You have a socialist in AOC. I would argue that Senator Bernie Sanders is a socialist, although I'm not sure he lives like one, but nevertheless, he is a socialist. So you have these people who, in many ways, represent the Democrat Party who are socialist. I don't know about Elizabeth Warren. She talks a lot, but I'm not really sure if she is a socialist. She's clearly a left leaning liberal, let's say that. But a lot of these people are embracing socialism, and that, of course, is creeping down to the younger generation, and that's how you get Madami in New York City. That's how you get him. And that's how you get the other one who's apparently running for office in Minneapolis, was sort of like a twin, ideological twin of Mandami in New York. This is not a good sign for the Democrats. If their intention is to pick up the House and pick up the presidency, embracing socialism is not the way to do it. So I don't know what has to happen. I'm beginning to think, and I've had a lot of conversations about this with my friend Bill Katz, the editor of Urgent Agenda. We usually do an audio video with him on Mondays. There's the one right before this one that we did on Monday. And Bill, who was a lifelong Democrat, of a different generation of Democrats, more like the Kennedy Democrats, more the Democrats of that time. And he has a couple of times suggested during our podcast that maybe the Democrat Party has to basically break into two parties. You've got the socialists on one side, and they can form their own party. And then you have the more, let's say, center-left Democrats who are going to look a lot more like, let's say, the Bill Clinton Democrats, or maybe the Al Gore Democrats, more the Michael Dukakis Democrats, more pragmatic people who, yes, they may be center-left, but there's a big difference between center-left and being a socialist. I mean, it's two completely different things. So I don't know what's going to come out of all of this, but it cannot be good for the party, and it cannot be good for a party trying to come back into power to have this much embracing of socialism. I don't see how they can get away with it. So the leaders of the Democrat Party are going to have to either blow up the party, create two parties basically, and say to the socialists, hey guys, you go down the street and you start your own party, because we've already got one here and we don't want to be socialist. Or I don't know what's going to happen, but this cannot continue. If the Democrats are interested in winning, they cannot do it by embracing socialism. Well, a couple of stories today. I have a post over at the American Thinker this morning, and I've got another one coming out tomorrow. And I'm talking about this terrible thing that happened to this young woman in a train in North Carolina. And of course, I'm sure you're familiar with the situation. This young woman went to work, took the train, and then not much later, this animal who was out in the streets took a knife and killed her. Why was this guy out in the streets? That's a question that I think the authorities in North Carolina have to explain. Because if you are a young woman, or anybody really in this country, you should be able to get in a train and have some assurance that you're not going to be attacked by somebody with a knife or killed in the case of this young woman. You need to be assured that the streets are safe. You're going to need to be assured that these things are not happening in your society. And unfortunately, a lot of this stuff, and I have another post coming out Wednesday morning about this, the Democrats are being hurt here by their lack of reality, if I could put it that way. When you have the governor of Illinois come out and say, there's nothing going on here, this is a manufacturer crisis, President Trump is just trying to, I don't know, whatever he said he was trying to do, and he says this is a manufacturer crisis. Okay, and then the next weekend, you got 7 people dead and 50 shot. And the week after that, you have 5 people shot or killed and so on. And this happens every weekend, apparently, in Chicago. Well, it's not a manufacturer crisis. That's a real crisis. And apparently the authorities in Illinois don't want to do anything about it. Well, now we have another situation. President Trump has been arguing against cashless bail. And now you have the incident in North Carolina where this man was out in the streets because of cashless bail. He should have never been out in the streets. This guy should have been locked up for life. This guy, I mean, his mother, I just heard that the guy's mother had been telling people, don't let him go outside. She was afraid of him. And this guy is out in the streets threatening people. So I think the Democrats, I have the post that I have coming out tomorrow says that the Democrats have an Irina problem. Irina is the name of this young woman who was killed. And the problem is that they don't want to deal with reality. The reality is not statistics or charts, showing that crime is going down. That doesn't mean anything. Okay. The reality is that whenever Trump says there's a problem, they say, no, there is no problem. And then we got people shot in Chicago. Or when Trump talks about cashless bail, they say, well, no, that's just a lot of MAGA talk. No, it's not a lot of MAGA talk. We just had a guy out on cashless bail kill a young woman. So they're losing this battle, and they're losing this battle for one reason and one reason only. And that's because all they want to do is argue with Trump. All they want to do, if Trump says yes, they have to say no. There's nobody in the Democratic Party with the common sense to say, you know what? Trump is right on this. Why don't we try to work with him and at least get some of the credit for cleaning up the problem? No, they cannot do that because working with Trump, well, you cannot do that. So they prefer to keep going down in public opinion over these things. And unfortunately, there's dead people. That's the problem. This is not a game. This is not a political game. There are dead people, a young woman in North Carolina and dead people in Chicago because these levels of lawlessness are being tolerated by the Democrats. Well, one quick thing, the Supreme Court came out with an opinion basically saying that the federal government has the right or the authority to enforce immigration laws in California. There's been a lot of dispute about this in California because California doesn't want to live under the federal rules. They want to have their own immigration rules. And the federal government said, no, ICE can go into California and can do these raids. Now, here again, we see the Democrats being stupid. What should the mayor of LA or the governor of California do about these incidents? He should say, look, we want to get these criminals out too. So let's work with ICE. We'll get the criminals out and we'll take care of that because these criminals are not helping anybody in our community. If you live in Los Angeles and you've got criminals hiding in the immigrant community, your life is in danger. You're in danger. But again, we go back to this garbage about Trump. We have to stand against Trump. If Trump says yes, we have to say no. And the consequence is that they're hurting their communities. But this is a simple opinion by the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court is not really saying anything here that dramatic. All they're saying is, hey, you guys can enforce immigration laws because it's a federal law, and that's what the federal government does. They enforce federal laws. So again, warning to the Democrats, you're not going to win these fights. And the quicker you come to your senses and get Trump out of your heads and begin to live in the real world, the better it may be for you politically. Quick thing on this day in history, Otis Redding, I'm sure you've heard that song, Sitting on the Dock of the Bay. That song was actually released after he was killed in a plane crash. But he was born on this day in 1941, died in 1967 in that plane crash in Madison, Wisconsin. But he was always one of my favorites, Otis Redding. And I was a fan of Otis Redding before Sitting on the Dock of the Bay. He was just a fantastic performer, had a great voice, was a great songwriter. One of the songs that he wrote was Aretha Franklin, Respect. So great singer, Otis Redding. He died way too young at age 26, but we remember him today. Otis, Sitting on the Dock of the Bay, Redding. But again, that song, Sitting on the Dock of the Bay, came after he was killed in a plane crash. There were many other songs that he recorded before that were just absolutely fabulous. So if you want to try what I'm saying, go to YouTube and listen to a couple of Otis Redding songs, and I think you'll appreciate how great, just absolutely great he was. Thank you for listening. This is Silvio Canto in Dallas, and we'll talk to you later. Bye-bye, everybody.